So, what a beautiful world we live in. What a beautiful world. Looking forward to seeing many of you this week. And I'm going to be doing some traveling. So, I better get out the calendar and take a look here. So, Wednesday the 2nd, I believe I'm going to teach the kundalini group, but not the meditation. So, if someone wanted to volunteer, someone who's not traveling to the retreat, or someone who is going to be in a good place and wants to host the Wednesday night meditation, please put that on the Facebook page, the Fully Human, Fully Divine Sangha page. And next Sunday, I don't believe I'll be around for satsang. That is going to be the 6th. I'll be getting done with teaching a retreat that day, and we'll be traveling that evening. Okay. I think those are all the announcements. So the next big retreat to sign up for would be Kripalu in July. So there's details on my website about that. Okay. Let's start this evening by shutting down our eyes and opening our hearts and arriving here in the innate goodness of your being. The innate goodness. Most of us spend our whole day thinking we are our thoughts, and with thoughts comes anxiety and agitation. As we drop out of the mind and come down into the space of the heart, we come to discover that the heart is innately good. Innately good. And so you may experience this goodness just as a gentle radiance in the heart, gentle sense of aliveness. And if you notice this heart of yours, it doesn't actually have a face. It doesn't have an age. But sometimes our heart, it feels childlike and innocent. And sometimes it feels really old and eternal. And I want us to open here. That this heart that I'm speaking of is not the human, emotional, conditioned heart, but the pure heart of your soul. Innately good. Beautiful, radiant, timeless, eternal, innocent, and pure. Innocent and pure. And so in this space of satsang, we're coming together, letting go of the conditioned nature and stepping into that which is unborn, unconditioned, that which is whole and complete, not needing anything. And so if you come into the heart and find grasping, or or intense desires or fire, well, that's a thing of ego. And so we must journey deeper than that. And come to find this basic purity, this basic goodness. And I invite you to smile and say yes to that which is good, that which is true, which is beautiful about your nature. And again, with every breath, we breathe, we feel, we soften, we open to this depth of being. We remember who we truly are, who we truly are. I'm going to invite us together as a Sangha to take a deep, full breath and simultaneously staying rooted in the heart, but simultaneously invite awareness to begin to wake up in the hara, this quiet space of strength and power, a timeless resiliency that has outlived every experience of our lives. That there's something here that is quiet, that is timeless, that has outlived every experience we've ever had. So opening this quiet, radiant innocence in the heart and this depth of being. Nahara. So a purity and a strength which together make up some core components of the soul. A purity, a radiance, a light, and this strength of presence, this depth of power. And so if you are here with me with an open heart and a deep belly, radiant strength, timeless, eternal essence waking up in the belly. And if you look up towards your mind, you'll see that the mind has become silent. And it is from this space that I welcome you into Satsang. Silent mind, open heart. Deep soul. And so I welcome you here. This is our true nature. This is our true nature. Silent mind, open and radiant heart. and this depth of being. And if we choose to live our life from this space, we will find we will experience great joy, great freedom. But most of us struggle to stay rooted here. We get confused by our minds. We get confused by social media. We get confused by each other. We get confused by the weather. It's a confusing world. Often we get confused by our own thoughts, by our own thoughts. I had a funny experience a little bit ago. I was out walking around and taking care of the dogs, before satsang. And, I came in the house and, I noticed that there was some mud that someone had come and walked through the kitchen, had some muddy shoes. And, so I looked to my wife and my daughter and I said, hey, either you guys have muddy shoes on. And they're busy laying on the couch. And they're like, no, it's not us. And I was like, yeah, probably not you guys. Must be Mr. Nobody. But then I looked down at my feet and my feet looked great. No problem there. But then I lifted up my shoes and looked at the bottoms of them. I saw, oh, look, there's some mud. There's some mud. There's some mud. And so in this world, the first place that we normally go to as humans in our mind is we blame, we look outward, and we blame those around us. It's like almost intolerable to watch the news anymore these days because all it is a blame game. All it is a blame game. But as spiritual human beings, one of the qualities we speak about a lot in this Sangha is having a sense of humility. But tonight, I'm going to invite us to look at, always humility, of course. But tonight, I'm going to invite us to look at two things. The first is, well, something that was brought to my attention. So I said this thing on Wednesday night about the pyramids, about these structures being under the pyramids and the city being under the pyramids. And, sometimes you'll find that, your teacher and your friend here, Craig, will say some wild things. And on the spiritual path, if we walk long enough, we'll find that there's these two amazingly opposing forces. If you're on the spiritual path long enough, you'll find that, well, you'll run into things that are unexplainable, things that are so utterly amazing and create such a sense of awe throughout your being that, like, especially in this year, like this is a year astrologically that so much is being disclosed. And, I just wanted to rattle off a list of things that I've just heard recently. Back, I think it was like in September or November, we had 6 or 9 weeks of UFOs that were visiting the New Jersey and New York and Connecticut area. And so there was that thing, it's like, well, what are those? Then on the media, they called them drones, but to me, those are UFOs, and the new lingo now is UAP. There's been this talk about the Shroud of Turin. And all this research that has been done on it, apparently there's been this shroud that is found, and they're thinking it's the very one that wrapped Jesus. And of course, that's up for debate. Uh, recently in Washington, D.C., there was the somewhat release of the Epstein files and the JFK files. And, it's like these are kind of earthly things where it's becoming apparent that, perhaps our own government shot its own president, which, I shouldn't laugh. I'm just laughing at how crazy it is, how crazy it is. There's these ones that I've heard of recently. Another fun one is the the moon landing was staged, and that's a fun one. I'm on the fence about that one. I'm like, I don't know what the deal is here with this one. But what you'll find is the further you walk on the path, you might start off the path as a scientific materialist, and the further you walk, you might find yourself believing in everything, believing in everything. And there's a problem here if we just play the hand that a lot of non-dual teachers play of just walking this razor's edge of truth, because oftentimes the word truth is just mixed with this conceptual framework that we've all been born into at this time in history, this conceptual framework of scientific materialism. And so it's like, I can't believe it unless I see it. Unless I hold the UFO craft in my hand, there's no way that this thing is possible. There's no way. Scientific materialism, we're not gonna believe anything. We're gonna question everything until we can actually see the thing. Or if someone, wrote a scientific paper about it, and then somehow we're all gonna believe it. And it's like, come on now. One of the things that I learned in the world of psychology was that so many of those scientific papers that scientific materialists believe so much in, well, it's just numbers that are skewed one way or the other, giving the result that the researcher wants. I was actually, for a while there, I was related to someone who worked for pharmaceutical companies. That was their job, is just to skew data to give the results you want. But scientific materialism, it's something it's in our Western culture, and we treat it like it is a God. We treat it like it's an ultimate truth. And of course, it's just a method. It's just a method. But if you notice on the path, when you give your mind so much power, well, this power that you give it will have the ability to actually shut down your intuition. It'll give you the ability to shut down your chakras. So if you just stay in this idea or this philosophy that science is God, you're going to have a hard time on the spiritual path. Because come on now, we're talking about a spiritual path. Now, in the olden days, spirituality and science was one and the same. But scientific discovery in the olden days came through the path of openness and intuition. In the modern age, science is often synonymous with skepticism and materialism. Now, I want to acknowledge that it is so utterly important to have discernment on the spiritual path. So utterly important. Because on this spiritual path, we can easily get carried away. It's how every great cult leader makes their business is through the followers just getting carried away. Maybe the leader getting carried away, just the whole group of people just getting carried away with something insane. And discernment is something so utterly practical and helpful. I'll give just a couple examples here. If you are a young, beautiful woman and you come to a spiritual group, and the spiritual teacher is a male and he's looking at you and smiling and giving you lots of attention and asking you to stay late after class, it's like, that's a great time for discernment. It's a great time for discernment. If you've told your spiritual teacher that you are about to inherit a great fortune, and all of a sudden he, she, them wants to become your new best friend, it's a great time for discernment. Great time for discernment. If someone says, drink out of this Ayurvedic copper cup and all of your diseases and sicknesses will immediately flee your body, that's a great time for discernment. Great time for discernment. So there's some pretty traditional things on the path in the world of human psychology, around money, sexual intimacy, and or healing, and that's normally around money too. If someone's trying to sell you snake oil, these are great moments for discernment. For discernment. But there are times on this path where we have to be, or it can be helpful, can greatly speed our progress if we're a little bit like John Lennon. What's John Lennon like? Some say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. So on the spiritual path, we have to be willing to dream, and dream big. Dream something greater than what our skeptical minds can imagine. The skeptical mind lives on the wheel of samsara. Skepticism almost always arises out of fear. Now, most scientific materialists, most people who live with a high degree of skepticism, well, they won't acknowledge that because they can't see it because it's in their shadow. But most of our skepticism arises out of fear. And so on the path, it is so utterly helpful. Wherever we find ourselves, let's say we find ourselves sick and in bed. It is so utterly helpful if you're sick in bed and want to heal, to be able to imagine yourself healed and imagine yourself better. If you are not awake on the spiritual path and you want to become enlightened, we have to be willing to dream that it's possible. It's possible to become enlightened. It's possible that God loves me. That it's possible that there's more to life than what my eyes can see. There's more to life than what my eyes can see. There's more here than meets the eye. And so on the spiritual path, oftentimes there's a little bit of a war between those who favor like a rigid skepticism and discernment, and those who are dreamers. Now, of course, the shadow side of dreaming is, well, we can dream ourselves very quickly into a fantasy and get lost in that fantasy. And, my favorite cult movie now, this year, is Mother God. Mother God. And she drank so much colloidal silver She was the teacher, the prophet who led the cult, the mother god cult. She drank so much colloidal silver that she turned blue. That she turned blue. I mean, it was ultimately, one of the things that killed her, along with just rampant alcoholism and anorexia. So you can see there's probably like three shadows there, and this one cult leader, that led to her demise and led to a lot of confusion, among her followers. Now, the last, I'm going to use this word in a non-traditional way. The last cult classic that I saw, that's a cult movie, that's a classic, was Krishna's, what was it? Krishna, Gurus and Murder, something like that, about the Hare Krishna order in West Virginia. And, here they had a narcissistic leader, and he was selling dreams to people. It's a great time to have discernment. If your teacher, your leader, your guruji is a narcissist, we want to have lots of discernment. But I will also say that on this spiritual path, discernment, again, is great. It's excellent. But those who hold on to discernment, whose discernment gets a little bit old and crusty and dry, it leads into skepticism. And then that skepticism tends to dry one out on the path. And if you ever hang out at any Buddhist centers, you'll see there's a lot of this. A lot of scientific materialists who are meditating, who don't even think that awakening is possible. They're just doing it as almost like a psychological way of practicing mindfulness. Again, it's a beautiful thing. It's a step forward from just mindlessness. But one of the great differences between yogis and Buddhists is yogis often gave themselves permission to dream, gave themselves permission to explore the higher dimensions, to explore the different heaven realms, to commune with angels and deities and goddesses. And so at some point on the path, we have to ask ourselves, like, what is the nature of my mind? Am I more of a dreamer? Or am I stuck in the conditioning of scientific materialism? Am I stuck in the conditioning of a skeptic? Where am I at on this path? Now, I'm going to tell you at this stage in my journey, as you all kind of seen in the last couple of years, I've been getting more and more excited, about UFOs and otherworldly contact. And, I've seen some of these things in real life. And I'm curious. I want to know, well, what is this? What is this about? When I look to the past at the ancient cities, the more and more I investigate, the more and more I see that, well, our history that we have, as it's written, it's just not accurate. It's not accurate. Humanity's been around much longer than we ever had imagined or ever scientifically reasoned. Humanity's been around for a long time. And it's very probable, given some of these mega structures, that there was a time when humans lived with aliens or some type of, ET support. There was a time when we had greater technologies, different technologies. We had a whole different world. In fact, in the ancient yogic texts, They write about these ancient ages. I can remember being in chemistry class and they speaking about whoever discovered, the atom or whatever it was. And they said, this year, the atom was discovered. I said, well, I mean, hell, the Greeks had this idea, and even way before that, the yogis had this idea. And how did they know? How did they know? And I don't want to get too much into the ancient civilizations because I'll get lost in that. But on the path, we really have to look at this question. Am I willing to dream? Am I willing to dream? And in order to dream, we have to soften the scientific materialism. We have to be willing to be a little bit comfortable with not knowing the exact truth. And that's what scientific materialism looks at. So discernment looks at what is the exact, precise truth that I can put in a box and hold on to. Whereas as a yogi, the truths that we discover are much more holistic. And at the same time, I'll use this word, etheric. Etheric in the sense that you cannot hold it in your hand. If I ask you, what is the way? I hope you will respond with, love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love isn't something we can hold on our hand and say, this is love. It fits in a box and it is measurable. It's measurable. Love is something immeasurable. Immeasurable. One of the great qualities of life that you won't hear from someone who's discerning or someone who works with scientific materialism is that life is inherently good. Life is inherently radiant. Life is inherently intelligent. Intelligent. And so sometimes if we hold on to our worldview that we've all been trained into, we've all been indoctrinated here in the Western world to this view that science is God, science is king. Again, we probably won't make it too far in the spiritual path. We'll get to a place where our science, our spirituality together is like a very airtight dogma. It'll be very limited. It's this one thing. It's the silence. It's the silence. It's the spaciousness. And by all means, silence and spaciousness is beautiful. It's liberating. It's freeing. But if we're going to get anywhere on the path, we must know about love. We must step out of the scientific worldview. But we can still hold on to some level of discernment. We must in the realm of love. Because if we're not careful in the realm of love, well, I'm sure everyone here has had the experience of falling in love with Mr. or Mrs. Wrong, like the wrong person. We've all had that experience. And we've had that experience because we did not listen to our discernment. We didn't see let's have some fun, the 5 red flags, and I've done that before. It's like, no, I'm going to just walk past these 5 red flags. And I'm just going to go boom, right into this wall. Just see if this wall will love me back. And sometimes that wall will love you back, for 3 months or 6 months. But then you discover, oh, it's just a wall, a narcissistic, toxic wall, or I'm not a good fit with this person. They're not a good fit with me. Or you see that, oh, Behind it all, they have a big wound or shadow, and they're not the person I thought they were, the person I projected. And so it's an interesting world we live in where it can be very beneficial to dream new dreams, to create new realities, to allow your thoughts to go out into the world and become manifest. Well, in the world of scientific materialism, like there's absolutely no way that's possible. But in the spiritual world, ask and it is given. Build it and they will come. Put it out there and see what happens. And of course, there's a danger, great danger, in going too deep in one or the other. Constantly dreaming. I've seen people dream themselves broke, and it's just like, hey man, time to get a job. Time to get a job. You can keep dreaming, but you're dreaming yourself broke here. Time to get a job. And I've also seen people with great gifts who have zero belief in themselves. And they really need to quit their job and step into their higher truth, step into their gift, gamble on themselves. Gamble on themselves. But often the confusion here that most of us miss is that this isn't a dualistic world where it's either this way or that way. This is a world where it's most often a both and world. I like to walk around with a big open heart, but I keep discernment in my back pocket. I keep it in the back pocket. And it's possible. It's very possible that everything I said earlier that was, once, considered a conspiracy theory, it's very possible that all these things are true. It's possible that the CIA did kill JFK. It's possible that all these presidents and Congress people and all this other stuff were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein on an island, like everyone's favorite Alex Jones from InfoWars said 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever he said it. And I can remember hearing it from Alex Jones. I thought, this guy's crazy. He's so crazy. It's amazing how many things that he's spoken about either have come true. I mean, hell, he predicted 9/11. It's just amazing. Amazing. But, when he said there's this island that these people go to, it's like, what kind of crazy stuff is this guy talking about? This nut. Well, and then, what about this? All these UFOs, all these UAPs. It's like, come on, there's something big there. And how about these pyramids with these mega structures within them and these tombs? I don't know if I can pronounce this word. I can't pronounce it. Sarcophagus. Did I say that right? That weigh 100 tons and that, we don't have machines that could cut these things. We don't have machines that could lift these things. And they're finding the rocks, the quarry, from which the pyramids were built. It's like 500 miles away. It's like, how's that possible? How's it possible? And often, like what we found in, any of this research with different pyramids and these mega structures is, well, underneath them, they have old pyramids. And underneath them were whole civilizations, whole cities that once stood in these same places. And so there's the more we open the more we investigate, the more we come to see, oh, the world isn't how we were taught it is. The world is radically different than how we imagined, than what we've been told. And of course, that's just in the realm of conspiracy, but in the realm of spirituality, oh, I had a friend who came over and visited me the other day, and he told me he's been being visited by interdimensional light beings. And I'm like, yes, tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Yes, tell me more about the interdimensional light beings that are visiting you. I want to hear about this. I want to know. Now, if I hold on to skepticism or too much discernment, I'll shoot him down right away. Be like, oh, you're just crazy. You're just a nut. Another spiritual nut on the path. So at some point, we have to find our way. And if we choose to take this path as a dreamer, as someone who walks around with a big open heart, I'm going to encourage you to have some discernment in the back pocket. Maybe just a little bit of discernment. Not so much that it's going to shut you down fully and completely. But to have a little bit of skepticism, especially when someone's trying to sell you something, when someone's trying to get you to come visit their hotel room, when someone's looking at your pocketbook. Have some discernment. Have some discernment. But those who do choose a path of discernment in materialism, it's like, please do yourself a favor and let yourself dream a little. Let yourself loosen up. Let yourself see the big picture. Just look out at the hugeness of the universe and be in the awe of the radiance and the glory of creation. And maybe press pause on the materialism and say, is it possible that my mind will never figure this thing out? Well, of course. Of course, your mind will never figure this thing out. And is it possible that maybe I'm giving too much credence, too much power to my thinking mind? And often the reason people give so much power to their thinking mind is solely because they're afraid of feeling. It's a funny thing. Like if you ever hang out with a bunch of scientists, you see they just kind of live in this little box. Maybe it's a little round orb. Maybe it's not a box. It's a little round orb. But I can't tell you how many scientists I've met with when I asked them, what's in your heart? They look at me and they turn pale, like they saw a ghost. Like, what are you feeling in your heart? They just turn pale and they freak out. Like, I feel my heartbeat. It's like, okay, man. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. You feel your heartbeat. Okay. Okay. All right. That's a start. That's a start. That's a start. But sometimes we get so stuck in a rationalist viewpoint. We don't even realize we're stuck here simply because we are afraid of feeling. Afraid of feeling. If you're going to dream, dreaming is similar to gambling. Because if you're going to dream, dreams create lots of feelings. And sometimes they're really good feelings. Hell, sometimes we can dream ourselves a nightmare. But in order to dream, you have to be courageous enough to feel, to experience, to hope, to want, to wish. And that takes great courage. Great courage. Now, one day in the future, we will look back at scientific materialists the same way right now we look at the flat earth people. We're like, come on, guys. Like, come on, come on, come on now. Like, you're really holding on to this flat earth thing. Like, really? Come on. Come on. I heard this most beautiful thing from this. It's actually one of the inventors, I believe, of the microchip, Federico Fagan. And so one day he's a scientist, and I believe he is a physicist. And again, like, someone who helped create the computer chip or the microprocessor, like one of those beginning stages of the computer. And he was meeting, I was listening to him meet with a materialist, and the materialist could not understand what Federico was saying. The materialist looks at our brain, looks at human consciousness as arising, like consciousness arising out of matter, being a byproduct of matter. And Federico had this very interesting experience. One day, he had a massive kundalini awakening, and his heart blew open. And he saw that the observer, his consciousness, and that which he observes is one thing. Is one thing. Is one thing. Now, what you are and what you see in this outward reality, from the perspective of spiritual awakening, there's no inner and outer. There's one thing. One thing. And as you open to this, it takes the whole worldview, a scientific materialism, and just, it hits it with a sledgehammer. And it makes it the most irrelevant view you could possibly imagine. But even this, with the falling away of materialism, it's still important to hold on to a healthy sense of discernment. Because I've seen people get carried away with it's all one, it's all good, it's all this, it's all that. I've had this experience before of getting carried away with it and not honoring the rules and the laws of physical reality. And if you notice, one of the things I'm doing tonight is I'm not giving us any place to land and say, aha, here is the right perspective. In a sense tonight, what I'm saying is all the perspectives are true at different stages of development, and sometimes they're all true simultaneously. And then there's also the possibility that they're all true simultaneously, and one of them or all of them are simultaneously not true. And again, this is where our mind really struggles, because our mind is always attempting to take reality and put it in a box. To take it and put it in a box. And sometimes when Craig says crazy things like, there's these giant structures under the pyramids, whole cities under it. Sometimes people freak out, they lose their mind. He's like, he's saying something that's not true. Well, possibly, and it's possibly true. And it's also possible that he's having some fun. It's also possible that he's in his dreamer consciousness, and we can let him dream. We don't have to correct him all the time. But it is possible he's living in a dream world and he needs to be corrected because he's saying something that's not true. And this is the dance of being human. And humans spend so much time arguing with each other, so much time fighting, especially in this day and age. And I'm going to invite us just to play with taking on different perspectives. And so I'm going to invite everyone to close their eyes again, to close our eyes. And there was a lot said here tonight. And if you notice, I didn't leave us in a place where we can stand on, but I want you to see what is your default mind state. Is it one of skepticism? Is it one of intense discernment, lighthearted discernment? Are you a dreamer? Are you fully in conspiracy land? Even though many conspiracies turn out to be true. So let's have some fun with that. Or are you in fantasy land? And I invite you just to be honest, to be deeply honest, and to see where you get stuck, to see where you get hung up, to see where you hold on to views and feel like you need to correct your neighbor or your partner or your mother or father or your brother who voted for, so-and-so. See, where are you at? Where are you at on the spectrum? And just acknowledging, like your go-to default setting. Is it you're wrong? Or is it I'm wrong? Is it everyone's better than me, or I'm better than everyone? Is it materialism? Is it arrogance? Is it pride? Is it unworthiness? Where do you get stuck? Where do you get hung up? And can you take a deep breath and come into your heart? And simply ask your heart, what is the truth here? Like, could I let go a little bit more fully? Or do I need to be a little more discerning? Do I give too many people the benefit of the doubt? Do I engage in ridiculous arguments? About politics or spiritual dogma? Or do I argue in ridiculous ways with my boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, husband, wife, sister, brother? Simply because I'm trying to control. And so I invite you to see your psyche, to see where you get hung up, to see where you trip. Or to see where you get carried away. And can we call forth our old friend, humility, and smile a little bit at our humanity, and smile at the ways we get carried away, smile at the ways we get hung up. Smile at the ways we get lost. Smile at the ways we hold on to things that are no longer the truth. Smile at the ways we get addicted to tribal consciousness. Can we smile? Can we soften? Can we open? Can we become good yogis and be inwardly flexible? Inwardly flexible. Can we forgive? Can we let go? Can we release? If we're holding on to old arguments, people we need to correct or straighten out. And can we listen to the truth if we need to correct ourselves? Or can we listen to the truth if it comes from the outside and we have friends and family, students, or whoever, children who are correcting us? And can we say, oh, yeah, I did get carried away. I did get carried away. Can we smile and know it's very difficult to be awake if you can't be honest, if you can't be truthful, if you dream too much, or if you're too skeptical. Both of those will get you in trouble. Part of walking the razor's edge on the path of awakening is knowing when to apply discernment and when to let yourself dream. And when to let yourself dream. And so, anyways, let's hear from Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hello. I'm
Hey, good to see you, Tom.
yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, it's been a
Very
long
happy.
time.
Yeah, very happy to be in the space and um I don't want to offer any like reflections or anything to that because I so appreciate the open-endedness of everything.
Yeah,
That was just perfect to, bear witness to all of that and I come from a scientific materialist background as you know and I've just been totally blown open
yeah,
and having these great beings come and spend time with me and study with these masters and basically a lot of as you say blowing open
yeah,
your ideas of what is truth. And but actually I want to speak a little bit to um the circumstances of life a little bit and say that I'm having this phenomenon with kundalini process where um, it feels as if my guidance blocks me from taking what would be seen as very sensible things to do. And I mean, in terms of blocking, like mudras will come in and just literally stop me from doing things that seem very sensible. Like even, I can feel that, like I understand a lot of how these higher beings bend the nature of reality. And so I'm just really understanding that
yeah,
um it's a big yeah, you let go of a lot of your ideas about what is possible. And um it, on the one hand, it's a very mystical and incredible journey, incredible experience. On the other hand, on a human level, it's sort of terrifying to be receiving what feels like divine guidance that stops you from doing things that are like on the surface very sensible to do.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to
Um,
give us an example of what
yeah, well, I mean, for instance, like I've lived like a true yogi in the sense like on the land, um, and there's been like this rational mind saying like that you should get a place, like you should stay, and then I just get blocked from that,
yeah,
and I spend time uh almost sitting in a cave, like
yeah.
just sitting in a cave, like meditate. It could be like that if I was in India, but I'm in Australia, so uh, and I'm going really like you want me, and I've these different lineages have come through, and it's almost as if like I mean I have discernment, so like for instance, I'm not going to go without food for a long time or something, but at the same time, it's opening to this idea like you don't need the things that you think you need,
That's right.
um,
That's right.
and and that might be a, a like a home, and um, and it's really bizarre. I've almost felt like I'm doing some like I'm kind of in dodgy areas a little bit, and I spend most of my time in meditation, and I think it has some effect on the people around me or something. Like it's weird. Like when you're in alignment, you can walk in these very unsavory places and be okay in a sense. Like it's
Yeah,
strange, and
there
I
can be
wonder if like
there can be a protection there. Sure, sure.
yeah, and almost like what is the like anyway. The main thing is just feeling a sense of guidance away from things that seem super sensible, even like, yeah, like finding a place to live. And it's a calling for a lot of faith or a lot of trust. But uh, yeah, as I say, I just have these moments where I'm like, no, I really should like, do this thing that's kind of necessary.
Yeah.
And then a mudra will come in and sort of stop me. And and I go, okay, well, I'm faced with this like, do I act egoically anyway, even in self-preservation, or do I just continue to trust and do nothing, which is kind of like it's not do nothing, it's return into meditation, basically.
Yeah, and see, that's what I want you to listen to there. Because often we look at life like we can't help but to look at life from the human perspective, and again, from this practical perspective of material reality. But on the spiritual path, every single one of us will be asked to do many things that will be acts of faith. And I like to step out of my mind and step into the mind of God and ask God, like, God, what are you trying to teach me or what are you trying to show me? Now, one of the things that comes when, let's say, like, if we use your example here, just not living in a house. Well, I mean, hell, I have friends. I mean, my friend who I just spoke about, who was seeing interdimensional light beings, he doesn't live in a house. He lives in a tent, and he lives in a tent all year round for years, for years now. And, in a sense, like he's a yogi. He's a yogi. And also, he's one of my native friends. So he just has this indigenous blood. He's just close to the earth. He feels good in the earth. He doesn't feel good in houses. And from any practical, reality, like even his mom and dad are like, hey, like maybe you should get a place. He has a son. It's like, maybe you should get a place, Dad. He's like, I feel good doing what I'm doing. And he has total faith in it. And he has a whole lifestyle around. No big deal. No big deal. But there's going to be times on the path when God will do things or take things from you to help you learn something or to show you, if anyone ever does a fast, like we always have this idea, I have to eat every single meal. No, you don't. You can fast for 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, 40 days. And there was someone in the Sangha last year as he did a 4 day fast, but no food and no water for 4 days. It's like, I didn't know that was possible. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm just called to do this. And Tom, you too are being called. And to me, this isn't the most crazy thing in the world. He's like, my God, enjoy it. Enjoy all this time in meditation. Enjoy it. Soak it in. Soak it in. Soak it in. Be with it. Experience it. Receive fully. Because often, I'll say, like, what is God trying to teach us? And again, even the scientific mind will like to say, it's trying to teach me this, 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 and this. But often, if you're just living like a yogi, and often the things we're taught on the spiritual path are things that don't come with words. They're energetic transmissions around light, around empowerment, around what's possible, around grace, around healing. And so much of this does it, there's no words for it. There's no words for it. Now, Tom, the thing that I see is like you spoke about this, and I saw a little smile there. And so, I'm going to assume there's something good is happening within you, that it isn't a total disaster, right? Like you're
Well,
learning new things and meeting with these other beings and
yes. Yeah, there's something good. And the other thing is, and this is to do with the root chakra awakening, and like one of the things that I've been blocked from is I'll share stuff online and I will kind of get afraid about it. Like the persecution thing will come up and I won't do it, but then I get blocked from that. So I actually feel that I am in some way meant to begin to share.
yeah,
And and I'm curious like how you would feel as someone who sort of leads a sangha in a sense. I can actually feel the psychic pullings that are happening through the people that I'm exposed to through that. So I share through, and even if someone projects negatively towards me, I can actually feel it on a psychic level. Or if someone projects positively, so I feel like I'm having to manage, um, like if I'm sharing, there's various responses to that. But I think because I've had like a lot of this psychic opening or astral like opening, that I can feel on an energetic level kind of, how that might be received. It might be a projection from myself. I don't know,
sure. Well,
but still, like you're connected. I'm understanding in a really experiential way what the Buddhists speak about with interdependence, or like the idea that literally everything is connected, and even if you offer a thought towards someone, that is registered, even if there's no speech or no action. Like
sure,
that's
sure.
so everything kind of can feel all of that. Um, and I changed my name to sort of like a yogi name because I felt like, well, this whatever here is 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 different from the human, but at the same time has to become integrated with the human as well.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, forgive me. So is there a new name here?
well, I received this. I just received like a kind of modification of my name that came
Okay,
in
let's hear it.
meditation. That was Taom, and then I looked it up afterwards, and I found that Taom is actually the Hebrew or Aramaic translation of Tom. But I felt like a yogi name because of
Yeah,
just the way that it came through. But having said that, I also received, or who knows where it comes from, if it's egoic or not, but I received like a normal name that I would change my name to legally because, it was never really my intention to be a spiritual teacher. I didn't actually, like, my initial awakening happened from desiring to end the karma of my lineage
yeah,
and specifically around my father. And so there was a reactive element within me that's like, I'm not carrying that name.
yeah,
I'm creating something new, a new lineage. And so even though this Taom name had this resonance with it, I also had another name that came that was more like a legal name that I could just basically say, this is who I am now. And then the question is, okay, well, now you have to claim that, on your Facebook and on your, like, basically say to the
Yes.
tribe,
So
hey, like,
straight. So did you do that? Straighten me out here. Where are we at in the process here?
I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that. It's been in the works in my own
Yeah.
self for about a year, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to encourage you to continue to sit with that and continue to open and find the truth. And when you find the truth, own it, believe in it, step in it, claim it. This is me. This is me. This is me. Now,
yes.
I want to respond to what you said a moment ago because there was a question in there about feeling into what other people are thinking. And we have to be careful because in one sense, like this is psychology that everyone has, like children have it. So there's nothing esoteric or mystical about it. And you see it in codependent households, it's just rampant. Like there's a child who's always thinking, if I do this, what will mommy and daddy think and do? And mommy and daddy's thinking, about whatever the other people in the family are thinking. And it's like we're always thinking about what someone else is thinking. And we just live in this altered reality of no one knows what the hell is true. No one knows who's feeling what. And it just turns into a big mess. But I will say this, that if you are going to share, your job is to put it out there and let go of the results. And we can't be concerned what other people think because, I mean, hell, then we give all of our power away. And there's going to be some people that like what we have to say, some people who disagree, some people who, are going to call us the devil and, this and that. And people who, think they need to straighten us out. I mean, with friends and family, it could be the worst. And with fellow Sangha members, sometimes if like we start growing in our power, they feel all of a sudden, that they're losing their power because we're becoming more empowered and then they have to rise up and fight against us. And it's just like humans are so crazy and all the pecking order games they play. It's just like these are the same games that crabs play at the bottom of the ocean floor as people play it in spiritual groups too. I think I said this last week. I saw an old friend who was in a big prominent Buddhist spiritual group, and there was a fight for the throne because the teacher got old, and it just ended in a disaster. And the whole organization fell apart because, there wasn't a clear successor. And all the top students just started stabbing each other in the back. And it's just like, oh my Lord, oh my Lord here. Oh my Lord, this is getting crazy. It's getting crazy. But you'll find, Tom, like if you're going to be a voice for the truth, if you're going to be a conduit of the truth, some people will throw tomatoes and some people will project Guruji on you, and you have everything in between. And your job is just to stay with the truth as it's coming through you. And then, of course, to take it a step further, we speak the truth. But then there's the whole other act of, am I brave enough to embody this truth that I'm speaking? Am I brave enough? Am I strong enough to embody it? In fact, the beautiful thing about when you stand in the truth and you share the truth, and when people question you and doubt your truth, that's an opportunity for you to model the very thing you're teaching. It's an opportunity for the truth to be modeled. And through the modeling of it, through the embodying of it, it becomes solidified within you. And then the byproduct of that journey, even though it's a messy journey, the byproduct of it is confidence. Because when you speak the truth and then the truth is challenged and you live up to the truth, what you are left with is confidence. But if we speak the truth and it's not challenged, there's always going to be like a little bit of insecurity that's within us. It's like, if you ever try to build a house out of bricks, but you don't have any mortar, like you can build that house up with bricks, but eventually those bricks will come tumbling down. but the mortar is the thing that actually holds it together. And when the truth is challenged, when people question you or when they doubt you, but then you show through the resiliency of your light that the truth is triumphant here, again, what you're left with is confidence. And that's a beautiful gift that is a byproduct of being challenged, of being challenged. But if we play the codependent game, or if we, so like sometimes we get really psychic, or we become really psychic, we start feeling into everyone else's thoughts. Like that can be a hell realm of just being in everyone else's mind and hearing what they're saying or thinking about you. And it's like, for me, I'm like, please no. Like I don't want to be in anyone else's.
No, yeah, it's a little different. Like it's a little
Yeah,
different to that. It's not that I'm getting
yeah,
lost in them. It's almost like, when you said I'm working with things, and I don't know, sometimes they're from members of the Sangha and I'm working with them because somehow or other, whether in a
yeah,
session or just energetically, I pick that up. And
yeah,
so I find myself often just working with energies that just don't belong to me.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
going to
it's
happen
almost like,
all day
eh,
long.
yeah, it's almost like anyone who comes into the aura, I'm going to work with something that they have,
Yeah,
just by virtue of the fact of sharing a space, even in a very short way. So you
abs
just end up kind of working
absolutely.
through a lot of others' things, and it's just it's. I don't think that happens at a lower level of spiritual development because you're not sensitive enough to know that that's happening.
Well, it does happen at a lower level in the realm of codependence, but what you're speaking about is this higher level thing that this is something that a lot of people don't know. Is a lot of people are like, oh, I'd love to be a spiritual teacher or a healer or this or that. Well, okay, well, if you work in that way, you're going to be working in other people's worlds all the time, and that might get you in touch with some heavy dense realities. It's will also get you in touch with some really beautiful realities. That's why some spiritual teachers fall in love with their students, because not only do they see the student's shadow or the wound or the confusion, they also see their glory and their beauty and divinity. And so it can be challenging, and in a number of ways. And I mean, this as a doctor, it's like it's not good practice to date your patients. It's just like it can get messy real quick. It's not.
Yeah, and I'm almost coming to, like, one of the things that Ramana said was that, like, you, your role as a guru, or you will often transmute the illnesses of your disciples.
Yeah, yeah.
And Yukteswar said the same thing. Like, you will, that's almost your job. Is like people
That's
bring
a
you, and
big
then
part of the job. Yeah,
you go into samadhi to kind of like recharge yourself, and then you come back, and
yeah.
that's how it just
Yeah.
happens.
Well, and
Um,
the key, I like that you said that, because the important thing is continually going back into samadhi. Because if you don't, and I'm guilty of this, is if you work too much in these fields, sometimes like you'll pick up big things, and sometimes the karmic load will start to build and weigh upon you, and you'll make yourself sick, or you'll make yourself exhausted, from carrying on too much weight. And so it's so important, like you said, to continue to go back into samadhi and to clear one out fully, and to clear oneself off fully. So utterly important. It's so utterly important to recharge and to be continually hooked up to this source, continually. Because if you step out of it and try to do it, through your own will or volition, oftentimes, you know, you'll sink. You'll sink. Yeah. 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 I mean, Tom, that's something very beautiful that you're bringing up. And, I'll say this, and I mean, this is literally a saintly behavior, because you're helping, to work. And oftentimes you're taking on things that, the individual, they might not even know they're there.
no.
They might not have any awareness of it, any awareness of it. And this can happen on a very specific way, like you're describing, But it can also happen in a universal way, like you're describing before. And, TM has done this. They've done all these studies on this where they'll, go into, different parts of the city that are crime ridden. They'll just get a lot of people to meditate there for a while. And then they'll, check the crime reports and they'll say, okay, crimes seem to have gone down after, whatever 30 of us spent the last year meditating in these neighborhoods. And of course, we all affect each other. Of course, we all do. I mean, heck, I even have a little puppy. If I take him out on the street, I might see someone walking down the street and they're just scrolling on their phone, lost in their phone. And, but, if their eyes look up and they see the puppy, all of a sudden they light up and they're like so happy just to see a puppy. So if you're a meditator, if you're a yogi, if you're giving of yourself, if you have a high degree of conscious evolution, of course that's going to have effect on planet Earth. As a whole, it's going to have effect locally on your community, and it's going to have effect on those who you're with.
Yeah, I hope it has an effect. I just, I don't want to be tanking myself for no reason. It happens automatically, to be honest. I don't invite it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of
but
course. No, of
but I
course.
hope that it has an effect because otherwise I'd just be tanking my own energy for no reason, and
Yeah.
it seems to be an automatic process actually. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of
I'm
course.
I'm
Of
very
course.
grateful to hear your offering on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
of course. Yeah, good to see you. Now, come on now. What am I going to call you, Tom or
Well, I want to give this other name, like you said, to sit with it because I can feel that there is still this rage or this resentment, this like sense of ickiness about my father, and that's the
yeah.
reason why I don't want to take his name. Definitely not. So that
Yeah.
I know that still
I
needs
want to
work.
hear
Like
the
I can't.
name you heard in meditation. What was it? It was
I just I just had the
Taom.
idea Taom.
Taom. Taom. I
Ta,
like that.
as in Taom, and then I researched it afterwards, and I found out that that is the Hebrew or Aramaic
Yeah.
name for Tom.
Yeah,
Um,
Taom.
and I don't know. It's all weird, isn't it? Because you want it like there's an evolutionary sense of I want to step into something new,
Yeah.
but I'm also therefore taking on a new ego. I'm taking on a new identity, and like the whole point of spiritual path is to release that. So it's kind of that's the paradox of
Yeah,
like
it is.
of
It
of,
is a
of a
paradox.
name shift. It's like you want to step into something that's on your evolutionary trajectory,
Yeah. Yeah, of
but
course.
you also don't want to take on a new identity and be inflated by that or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
um
that could be the shadow of it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
so I'll get back to you. I'll keep
Yeah.
chewing
Okay.
on
Well,
it.
yeah, you let us know. You let us know. You let us know.
Yeah,
Well, so good to see you, my friend. So good to
thank
see
you
you.
so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
of course. Of course. Okay. All right. It's getting late, but let's hear from Kyle and then we'll call it a night. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, I can try to keep it pretty short here. Um, I've been noticing the last couple days, like this this awakening, um, and this life. Well, I guess before I thought that this life was about Kyle,
Yeah.
but now it's clear that like the awakening is about like actually it's about everything.
Yeah.
It's about this interconnected field of beauty and love. Like it's so clear
Well,
now.
like, come on now. Isn't that Kyle? Isn't
Yeah,
that Kyle? And that's what, Frederico Fagan was coming to realize is that it's not about me. Me is actually everywhere. It's like, well, everything is this I. Everything is this I. So it is about Kyle. It's not about Kyle. Kyle is everything. And so, the truth is holistic. It's inclusive. It's everything, like you said. Like you said, the confusion in the ego is I am this one person and I am separate from you. And I'm separate from you. And of course, that's, suffering 101. Yeah. Well, Kyle, this is a beautiful realization. Beautiful realization. The beginning of the path, it's all about me, me, me. And I want to feel good. I want to feel better. I want to feel free. I want to feel love. In the end, it's love is all there is. Love is all there is. The people that hate me, that's love too. The people who judge me, that's love too. It's all love. It's all love. And this is such a confusing thing if we're in ego. But as soon as the heart opens and expands, it's like, oh, I see myself everywhere. I see myself everywhere. Sometimes when we're going from the limited eye to the universal eye, many people take on this dance of hating the limited eye. Now, you're not doing that, are you?
No, the limited eye is just it's too innocent.
It's too innocent. And that's actually a great form of compassion to realize that. Because when you see that, I'll be a little bit mean here. When you see that the meanness or the ego-ness of Kyle, when you see that that is innocent, or the arrogance of Kyle, again, innocence, the separateness of Kyle, innocence, the intellectual Kyle, it's all innocence. It's all innocence. When you see that in yourself, and then again, a quote unquote enemy comes toward you, you see that they too are innocent. They too are innocent. It's all innocent. It's all innocent. And with that, the response is love with ease, not with great effort, but with ease. With ease. And to me, that's a real shift, is when we see that the fool that's here is innocent and the fool that's out there is innocent. We're all innocent. We're all just a bunch of children driving around in circles here on planet Earth. And we get really confused and take each other too seriously and think we need to straighten everyone out and this and that. And in the end, it's just like, come on now, we're just a bunch of kids playing here on planet Earth, waiting for the aliens to come save us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there. Well, anything else, Kyle?
Oh, there was one thing. Let's see if it can come back up. No, I'm not going to remember. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Well, nice to have you, Kyle. Nice to have you. Let me just look on Facebook real quick here and just see if I miss anything. Okay, I think we got it. So much love to each of you. Look on Facebook to see if I change anything with the groups coming up. But I think I'll meet for the Kundalini group this week. No meditation with Craig on Wednesday the 2nd, but someone will host a meditation and I'll tune in through the sky, through the big sky. And Sunday the 6th, I don't think I'll be here for Satsang either. And so unless I post it on Facebook, if I get home early and be able to pull it off, but it's going to be probably not. So I'll see y'all. See some of you next week, and I'll see a lot of you in Sedona, which I'm really looking forward to. So much love, everyone. May peace be with you. May love triumph here on planet Earth. Good night. See you soon.